everyone, welcome back to Sid's Killer Reviews, where this week we're reviewing Gunpowder Milkshake with Karen Gillan. Overall impression of the movie.
I was entertained. It was a bad movie, but I was entertained. Yeah.
I guess. It's a production.
So you didn't like the movie, huh?
No, not at all.
Why?
So many reasons. Bad writing, bad choreography, the story just seems kind of like a mess.
Yeah.
The characters don't have a whole lot of personality.
Would you say the dialogue's worse than Killing Them Softly?
I don't know. You guys were saying it's supposed to be an intentionally bad movie, but I think it kind of even fails so bad at that. It's just terrible.
I thought it was funny how you said it's kind of like John Wick with the everybody knows the spots where assassins are welcome.
Yeah.
There's like a secret society of known killers, and they all operate in seemingly normal businesses.
Yeah.
But there's like code words. And I have to say, they use the code words extremely poor. There's like this whole thing about language in the movie that I think is just bad. Like, they use the code words in very choppy manners that it just feels uncomfortable, and they're shoehorning it in.
The code words were like, I need some books. And then the next time they're talking, they're like, guns.
And then they go back to books again.
The best dialogue I think we both enjoyed was, where does this lead? To fucking Narnia.
Yeah, that was really funny.
The only good line in the whole movie.
Yeah, that felt actually a little witty. There was like the one scene in the bowling alley when the dude's throwing a wide punch and she literally just bends over and shuffle walks backwards under his arm with a panda suitcase in her hands.
Bowling alley, that was my favorite fight scene, was when she hits him with the bowling ball.
That was actually, I did enjoy those.
And hits him in the face.
That's my second favorite.
What was your favorite fight scene?
My favorite fight scene was when they're the dentist and her arms are
I can't believe I forgot that.
Spaghetti arms.
Like this and
so many continuity errors with that also. Like, at one point she's like, oh, I can't move my fingers, but then they tape the gun to her hands and magically she can move her finger to pull the trigger. She's just spinning around and like throwing her arms in big circles.
It's a movie. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
they were all
it's a really bad movie.
They're all high on laughing gas, so the one guy shoots the guy, he starts laughing.
Yeah. It was pretty funny. They legitimately had like they even say they're the Three Stooges of the Hitman or whatever in the movies. And there were multiple times where I was like, this is what's going to happen next. And it's exactly what happens next. I was like, oh my god, I could write this.
Sit next to Cameron, he was like, it's going to be a dream. Bam.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yep.
There was the I feel like the fights got mildly better as the movie went on. The first one was very rough.
I loved the library where like all the women, like badass women just killing people. It was awesome.
They definitely make some interesting choices for the fight.
Yeah,
like dropping a gun in favor of a chain. Or
why did all the bad guys have like weapons? Knives and axes and machetes. Why didn't they have guns?
What's the lady from Everything Everywhere All at Once? What's her name?
Michelle.
Yes. She does 80% of the killing in the final scene of the diner.
I also caught when, after her mom said something like, get out of here, and they all rack their shotguns, there was 2 racking sounds, but the other lady had 2 handguns, so why was I mean, they could be cocking the thing, but you have both in your hands, you're like...
Yeah. She's like doing it with the business.
Use your face or something.
Emily, the little girl, is like, I know that you were just the person who pulled the trigger. You were just following orders. But who sent you? And then they just, like, show up to the guy that sends her. Like, they show up to his house, and they do nothing. Like, it was the biggest letdown, I think, in the entire movie. I was like, oh, they set it up like she's about to get revenge, and then they're just like, okay, bye.
She didn't like killing people.
I get that, but then I feel like the back half of the movie, they're setting up Emily to be, she even calls herself the assassin's apprentice.
The funeral.
Okay.
Did you care at all?
No, and I was also like, this
sad?
seems like a serious lack of priorities on everyone's part. because the girl was just stolen, and they're like, yeah, let's just take a few hours to dig a big hole and bury somebody instead of saving the person that's alive.
I think they know that they're not going to do anything because that's their leverage point to get the other girl, to come get her. So they can't kill her.
That doesn't mean there shouldn't be a sense of urgency, though. The characters were all just vehicles for the story. There was, like, nothing that really attached you to any of them.
Yeah.
I can't even remember more than, like, 2 characters' names in the entire movie. I think Emily and...
Anna Mae and Florence and...
Oh, she's just showing off now.
Yeah,
no.
It left more of an
I
impression
don't even know
on
the
you.
name of the girl that died.
Yeah.
Who was that?
The
Because
lady
it was
from
Anna Mae and
Hotel.
Florence and...
Forgettable movie.
I liked how all the bullets were spaced out, like when she was doing the machine gun and then it looks at the wall and it's like in a pattern.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then when they're driving, like in the last scene, you see there's automatically no bullet holes in the van anymore. It's just
You know,
gone.
I have to say, one of my favorite scenes was the guys who first stole Emily, the henchmen in the vampire masks or whatever, when they were getting away and the guy just like starts
shoots
pointing
him.
his gun at the guy in the back seat. So of course the guy in the back seat's first move is to slap it towards the person driving. That whole thing was a mess. So then it just turns into a shootout between what was supposed to be teammates, and then the entire It's a mess. There's a grenade that blows up the suitcase that's like the linchpin for the entire story to start opening up in the back half of the movie.
I like the grenade also like blew that one guy way really far.
Yeah.
And there was like a random leg that just flies across the sky. That was the scene too where he stabbed the vampire with a stake.
Yeah. That was actually that was probably the second best written little instance in the movie. I was like, oh, that actually took a little bit of thought, I feel like.
What was your favorite thing?
That's a tough one because there's so many that I didn't like.
Well, my favorite fight was the bowling ball, and then my favorite scene was her. Where's the sleeve? Fucking Narnia, get in.
Yeah. I think the moment I liked the most, just because of how cheesy it was when the waitress walks up at the end and she's like, "Could I get you any coffee?" And I'm like, "It's Mom!" And then lo and behold, it's Mom.
He wants revenge because he's a feminist stuck in a house full of women.
Yeah, yes.
Are you really a feminist then?
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
He's like, "I consider myself a feminist. I painted my house pink when my daughters were born." And then he's like, "But then I had a son, and I could just relate to him so much more, and I didn't feel like a stranger in my own home." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're really backing up those women, bro."
I was laughing really hard. It took a while for it to get funny or to understand that the badness
you're a
was
cheap
supposed to be
laugh,
funny.
so. It's not hard to make you laugh.
No, it's not.
It didn't stick with the cheesiness enough. Like it tried to have moments of like realism in it.
Where it took itself seriously, but
Yes.
like none of the movie should have ever taken itself seriously.
Her gunshot wound too, when she gets shot, moves.
Doesn't it? I didn't pay attention
She
at all.
gets shot through, like here, so in and out.
Mhm.
And then
it turns
every
into a
time,
graze.
every time you see her, like the next time you see her, it's in her shoulder, and then at the end of the movie, it's a cut, like it just grazed her. It went through her arm, kept changing. It was funny.
All I'm gonna say is that girl was amazing at driving the little girl.
That was actually funny too.
Yeah.
Like that little girl's better driving backwards than I've been.
Yeah, probably. I was gonna say, this is gonna be like one of those instances where it's like she's literally never been in a car before, and all of a sudden she's drifting like she's Dom Toretto from Fast and Furious, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This movie does not deserve a rating, in my opinion. It's so bad.
You think it's worse than last week?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So do you think she was a good assassin?
Not really. Approximately a quarter of the movie, she has this little girl with zero experience helping her kill all these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And she never actually assassinates anyone. The only time is at the end. She could have, but then she doesn't.
It's
Well,
like the John Wick
show it.
1. It's like the John Wick 1 situation where he's just going on a massive killing spree, not really assassinating anybody, but he does have the history of being an assassin.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'd rate it a 4 out of 10. I was entertained some of the time. So.
That's fair.
What about you?
I'd give it a 6.5, honestly.
Wow,
I really
okay.
I kind of really liked it.
This
It was
feels
entertaining.
to me, this feels like one of those movies that there were contracts that people couldn't get out of involved. No. What? So you've heard us talk enough about how bad it is. Why don't you defend your claim that this is actually a good movie in disguise?
Okay, so it's decent to me because even though you're reminded constantly of how it's not a great movie, you get the comedic relief, like, right when it starts to get boring.
This is, I feel like, where the easy ability to make you laugh comes in, because it wasn't actually good humor written for most of it.
I thought it was hilarious. I laughed so hard during that dentist killing scene. That was hilarious.
Well, you were laughing because those guys were laughing, and that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, I was laughing, but it was
Look,
so funny. No,
You started laughing when they started laughing, and then you never stopped.
because they're limping, and then she stops counting. So you're like, why was she counting in the first place?
Yeah, right.
By the 60
She's
seconds.
like 15, and by that point, like, I thought she was gonna.
Shoot through the wall or something.
Well, 60 seconds. Like, I thought she was gonna get paralyzed or whatever, but then her arm just ended up limp.
I think that it meant 60 seconds for her arms to go completely limp, so maybe she was counting. I don't know.
I think what
So
the
that
guy
special-
said, he's like, count to 60 and then she's a sitting duck, I think is what he said.
Oh.
So I think that might have meant that she just wouldn't be able to use her arm. Like, if she's supposed to be this badass person who could take down a room of 15 people at the beginning of the film, one dentist dude is literally just like, no, seriously, let me stick you real quick. And she just takes her eyes off him for 1 second and boop, there's both arms.
Well, and he walks in like this. Like,
And-
no shit, he is.
Not even that.
Super obvious.
When he walks in with his hands behind the back, the camera, you could see a glimpse of the thing he was holding behind his back. I was like, oh my god. I think they might have done that on purpose.
Yeah.
They had to.
Yeah. Like, the fight scenes weren't cool enough to be super cool, and they weren't funny enough to be, like, I can tell when we all like the same thing because we all, like, scream and laugh.
Mhm.
Like, the milkshake thing was pretty funny, and then the bowling ball when he breaks his leg, she breaks his leg.
Yeah.
But
Wasn't
a lot
there
of these
somebody-
fight scenes, there wasn't, it was just boring.
I remember what it was. Everybody had that moment when they swung the hammer into the guy's mouth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
That
right.
was a good
rough.
one. There's like maybe 3 to 5 like actual killings in the movie that I think were kind of not poorly done
To
to
a
thing.
cookie jar where she pushes.
Oh, I mean that one was kind of funny, but I was just kind of sitting there. I was like, how heavy is that tooth?
Yeah, I know.
Well, it took her multiple scooches.
I
to
get
pick
that
it
we're
off.
supposed to see the illusion that it's heavy, but what's the thing made of? You know?
Karen wants to know, like, what is this made?
Like they had
Lead. It's made of
Yeah.
lead, okay?
yes, that's the impression I was getting.
And